All right, welcome back. We are ACI Course 11, Class 4. It's January 22nd, 2026. And I'd like to make an announcement first, and that is there were some changes in my schedule that allows our ACI 12 course to happen a little differently. And so the starting date for this group, Thursday, will be Sunday the 22nd, which is just different by a day, I think. Anyway, whatever day the 22nd is, I don't think it's the Sunday. Anyway, March 22nd to April 26th, and there will not be those days off in the middle of April that the original schedule said. Right, so we'll be done before May with course 12. Uh, so I'll put that in the email that comes with the link to tonight's class. So it'll be on there too. But if you'd just pass the word about that too, I'd be grateful. The other thing is I'm having some trouble with this darn cough, more so today than usual. And if it gets to going, Samati said he would step in and finish the class for us. So cross our fingers. So let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing, and that longing into an intention. With that strong intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach me that, show me that, help me, change me. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. Then we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayam. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. Okay. So we are on to the perfection of joyous effort. Thank goodness, right? That that anger chapter. Ooh, man. It's hard to listen to. Geshe-la shared that this this text is not part of their 5 text curriculum, but they study extra things uh, for a month at a time, from time to time. And this chapter is one of those things that they'll spend many of those months of special teachings on just this one chapter out of this extraordinary book. And when His Holiness the Dalai Lama came to Tucson for the first time in 1993, he taught this chapter for 5 days. No, like all day. He had multiple sessions during the day. So it was an in-depth dive into those verses, and it was beautiful, and I really don't remember. Although the transcripts from that course later became a book. I forget what it's called. Managing Anger or something like that. So it just hits home with many of us about the negative power of anger that just escaped us for most of this life. I'm guessing, right? If you're like me, it's like situations that made me angry, there was always a good reason for it, right? And I had that reason justified, and even justified how I should act from that anger in order to set things right. And then I read this chapter and he's pointing out, it's like, yeah, but in all of that, you're just hurting yourself. You're not really bringing about what it looks like the anger brings about. we've been willing to do a non-virtue in for anything. And we were saying with our working with our ethical or moral discipline, I'm not willing to do a non-virtue no matter what, except in those situations where I get angry, right? In which case I justify it. And it's like, it's human. We're not bad. We were just mistaken. And we still have those seeds from being mistaken. And he goes through that chapter, all these different ways in which we get angry, and then we believe that our reaction to that anger is the right thing to do. And he just points out that to be willing to do a non-virtue, trying to get a good result, just gives everybody a bad result, even if it looks like it gives a good result. And he said, just to get angry is the non-virtue. And that's the rub, because we don't have any control over that yet. And that's why he talked about we'll find the cause of the anger. Cause of anger is some kind of irritation. And if you work at the irritation level and you're able to overcome irritation, anger can't get through it. It's like the starter factor of irritation. And we got those two beautiful verses. If we're in a situation, even as minor as irritation, and there's something we can do about it, just do it. And if there's nothing we can do about it, what the use is getting irritated? Either walk away or whatever. So in last class, he was addressing, it's like, wow, we should get angry when people hurt the three jewels. And he points out, what three jewels are you talking about? The actual three jewels, they cannot be hurt. And so what use is us getting angry about somebody hurting something that they can't even hurt? We've just hurt ourselves. And he says, even if you're talking about harming the apparent three jewels, again, it's like if you can do something about it, we'll try to prevent the person from doing it. But does that mean you have to be angry about it? Just do what you can to prevent it. Matter of fact, in order to protect the person from getting the negative seeds of disrespecting those objects, not to protect the three jewels because they don't need protecting. And then he said, like our mind said, yeah, well, what about it if it's my lama, right? Or my family? In that situation, I should get angry and I should act from that anger in order to protect my people. And he said the same thing almost, which is if those people can see themselves being hurt, it's their karma ripening. To get angry about it doesn't help. To try to help to stop it, absolutely. And we can do that without being angry about it because we understand karmic seeds. These ones are ripening seeds. These ones are planting seeds. Let's act to help both of them. And we don't need to be angry to do that. In fact, our compassion would kick in, hopefully. So they're good logical arguments. Will the logical argument go in there and just change my mind so I never get angry again? Finally I was making some progress, and then just today, every little thing was like, and I realize I've got this headache on my right side coming on, and it's like, oh, that's why, because that makes me irritated. But even that's the wrong explanation, isn't it? At least I had a reason that would allow me to say, knock it off, irritation. Right, you don't need to have it. And it does help to have this understanding. But it's been years practicing this stuff. So Be nice to yourself too. Don't get angry about getting angry. Don't act from the anger to the best of our ability, right? Then we're changing our habit pattern, and that's burning off some anger and not planting new. And pretty soon we get onto that upward spiral and we surprise ourselves that we can be in a situation that would have set us off. And oh my gosh, that feeling's not there at all. Like jump for joy when you get some of those. I know you've had them because it's a sign that we are changing, right? We say, I want to change, but then it doesn't seem like it happens much. And then when we get a little bit of one, it's like, that's not enough. Yeah, I mean, if you're anything like me, this overachiever thing. So we are making progress to still be here in class. He went on so far to say in last end of that chapter, look, you can even cherish the opportunity. Healing anger, that's the one. We can go so far as to cherish the opportunity when another situation is one that I know is going to piss me off. If I can, be aware, not let it go further as quickly as I can, plant something different, then I can say, wow, great that that happened. I did better. And we would be less actively avoiding those unpleasant situations that usually trigger us. We'd be more willing to just say, okay, I'm ready, I can take it on. And that attitude makes us so much less susceptible to the feeling of needing to harm because they've harmed me or harm them before they can harm me. And we have those patterns, habit patterns from being human, right? We were supposed to do that as humans, not this life necessarily, but you know, genetically as humans, protect yourself and your family by hurting them before they hurt you. And so we're bucking the system as we understand that actually that's not what protected my family at all. Just looked like it. So the less we act from our anger that has already arisen, the less power that anger has over us. And the sooner we're able to catch it and do something different so that all of our anger seeds are losing power. We do it for one episode, all the ones that are waiting to go off, they all get diminished a little bit. And then another one manages to go off and we do it again, all of them. Which is why Master Shantideva says, work at this diligently and you'll reach the point where when somebody pushes your button, you like almost want to grab them and hug them. Thank you. Like, thank you, thank you. Maybe this is the last one instead of doing the usual jump at them. It sounds crazy. Then the last little bit that I didn't actually talk to you about was the quoting the Dharma Singiti Sutra, where Lord Buddha is saying the field of living beings is your Buddha field in terms of setting up our refuge image. Usually it's the Buddha Dharma Sangha is what we think is our field of merit, where we plant our seeds. That is where we plant our seeds most powerfully. But here he's pointing out for a bodhisattva, all living beings are part of that field. They are towards whom we plant our mental seeds by way of our behavior towards them. All of them are powerful karmic opportunities to transform our own perception of me and my world from suffering human in a samsaric world true enlightened being in a Buddha paradise emanating to those who don't see themselves that way. We need other beings, not just other human people, but other beings in order to do our deeds towards what deeds? Deeds of kindness, deeds of avoiding harming, deeds of doing both of those with the mind motivated to bring that other to their ultimate end of suffering someday. Because to be able to do that, we need omniscience. And to reach omniscience means we've reached our Buddhahood. So from that, we then see, I hope, that all of our experiences, be they pleasant or unpleasant, are all the arena in which we behave towards others, where we plant our seeds for what will then become our future experiences, be they pleasant or unpleasant, according to what we did, what we perceived ourselves doing. And when we're understanding that more clearly, we see how powerful it is to be in a situation that's unpleasant, recognizing that we would ordinarily act in a certain way to stop it or avoid it. And we decide very intentionally whether that action is really the one I want to plant. It's almost like independent of the circumstances happening. Because of the circumstance, boss is yelling, I want to yell back. But wait a minute, do I want a world in the future where people yell at each other? No. Okay, right? I'm not going to do it. It doesn't matter whether what I do fixes the situation. Do you see? I used the situation to plant something different. And it's almost like, who cares what happens to the situation? It's burning itself out. It'll end. And I'm planting these other things. Hooray. That's how we get to joyous effort. Because now instead of being in that avoid, protect mode, it's like, all right, whatever's going on, pleasant things, I'll share them. Unpleasant things, I'll burn them off. I'll use them to plant something intentionally different. Cool. Good. And he says, well, we can even crank that up a little bit further to not just cool, to wow, let me at it. Right? Joyous effort. So typically, effort, when we think of effort, we think work hard, right? I looked it up. I looked it up in the dictionary, but I don't remember where I wrote it down. Share. Share screen. Got the share. Get us bigger. There. So we can just do things, and we can do things with effort, which gives this implication that we have a little more intentionality, putting a little bit more conscientiousness, a little bit more strength or power towards what it is that we're doing when we're saying, I'm making the effort to do such and such. And that the word in Tibetan is tsundru. Tsundru. We have it here in our vocabulary list to get my cursor over there. Tsundru. Tsundru ki parchen. Parchen means the perfection of effort. And Geshe is going to make the case that it's not just the perfection of working intentionally, just working intentionally, working hard. It's working intentionally to have this major influence change on our own mind that will change the world. And from his perspective, I mean, he's not making it up, that when we have it clearly why we want to make the effort in our spiritual work that we are, it won't just be effort, it will be fun effort, enjoyable effort. So he always says the perfection of joyous effort, joyful effort, having a fun time doing our virtues, keeping our vows, having a fun time avoiding harming, gathering goodness, and doing both because we want to become one who knows how to stop all the suffering of everybody, which includes us. Sundruki Parchen. It's like it's packed in there. And we get to see how Master Shantideva, who's talking to mostly a bunch of monks and the supporters of the monastery, how he's going to weave his way into growing this joyous effort idea, this habit of joyous effort. So in his first verse, you can read it there. The interesting piece is this phrase, without a breeze, they never flicker. And just so, in the absence of effort, merit can never occur. So Master Shantideva is actually saying, without this perfection of effort, the deeds that we do, that we are saying, that we're doing because of our bodhicitta, are not actually planting seeds for our Buddhahood without the joyous effort piece. And it's like, oh, I'm not, like, I don't want to agree with that. What I want to say is effort alone is even effort at avoiding harming. That alone's not going to make me into a Buddha because I have to understand why I'm avoiding harming in order to stop the suffering of the world. I need to understand about the seed planting because nothing has its own identity. For the effort that I make in my behavior change to be a behavior change that will force me to perceive myself as a Buddha. So we need it to be the perfection of effort, not just powerful effort. But that's where Geshe-la weaves in. If you have the perfection of effort going on, meaning you are doing your avoiding harming and doing your kindnesses because we understand karma and emptiness, he says because of that understanding, you are having so much fun. Because the deed that you're doing isn't just giving flowers to Aunt Mary, which is fun in and of itself, but you're like secretly making yourself and eventually her into a Buddha by giving flowers to Aunt Mary. And it's like nobody has to know but you and your angel deity. And it's like, wow, life would become this great, beautiful game. Right? It really would become joyous effort. The perfection of wisdom would be joyous because everything we're doing, we're having so much secret fun, right? Becoming a Buddha. When we've got it in mind at least to some extent. So let's see how this gets woven into that conclusion. This phrase, without a breeze, they never flicker. It's lung mei yo mei up here. Lung means wind. Lung mei means no wind. Yoa mei, no flicker. As in, if you've got a flame in a perfectly still air, the flame doesn't do the flame thing. But as soon as you have a little movement of air, the flame flickers. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We're learning how to meditate. And we didn't use the analogy, but we're gonna someday, that at some point we're gonna experience a flame that is still, a flame with no flicker. And actually, when we get to those kinds of teachings, it will have something to do with something happening to the subtle body. And so Geshe-la is pointing out, even back when this was first taught, that Master Shantideva is dropping these little unstoppable seeds about practices through which we transform our very body in his sutra teachings to his monastery and its supporters. So the breeze, the lung, is also the connotation of the subtle winds of the body, of our subtle body, the movement of energy, right? Chinese system calls it qi, Indian system calls it prana. All those ideas of the subtle movement that through which is manifested our me and my world. If that wind doesn't move, neither will the mind. The mind rides on that wind. The wind is directed by the mind. And one of the particular directions that the mind takes that wind in is on contributing to igniting and blowing that inner fire that is the passion of the wish to reach total enlightenment. So without this wind that blows the passion, we won't make merit. He's saying without the wisdom underneath our effort isn't merit. In the same way that if we don't have a wind to move the mind, our activities will not contribute to this transformation that we say that we're trying to bring about. It takes both that wind and that fire to create a Buddha with that Buddha's physical body made of light and mental body omniscient, right? Ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. So Geshe-la says, how is it that effort has any effect in turning us into enlightened beings? And he says we need to look at the 6 perfections again. Okay, giving material things, giving protection from fear, which it's much beyond generosity, but it is a giving. And then giving the Dharma. And the ethical way of life is training ourselves to stop being willing to rationalize or overlook doing something harmful to get something we want or avoid something we don't want, or being a cause for someone else to do the same. Ethical life. Then patience, this growing the ability to not get angry in those situations where we used to. And then we have joyous effort. And then concentration, learning to put our mind in effortless, single-pointed focus and hold it there. And then wisdom, technically the perfection of wisdom, which is code for experiencing ultimate reality directly. So the joyous effort, perfection, sits in the middle, not exactly the middle, but in between the activities of body and mind, but mostly body, and then the activities of mostly mind, concentration, and growing our wisdom. Here we have joyous effort that applies to all of them and is itself its own practice. We've been practicing it to some extent with our shift from our ordinary human giving to growing our giving with as much wisdom as we have accumulated so far. And we're doing it with greater intentionality, hopefully with greater enjoyment. And then the ethical way of life, we're already practicing to some extent as we're working with our perfection of giving, but then we reach a place where because of our giving, we are just more and more unwilling to harm somebody, to keep my stuff, that we're automatically working with our avoiding harming others moral discipline. And from there, we start doing the opposite, which is the gathering the goodness. And in the process of our refusing to harm and choosing to do kindnesses, we're already growing our ability to tolerate unpleasant circumstances and use those unpleasant circumstances in order to continue to grow our field of seeds being planted, intending to reach Buddhahood as a result. And so by the time we get here to joyous effort, it is enjoyable. We've got the system and the pattern worked out so that every day is just, what opportunities do I have today to plant the seeds for my Buddhahood? And we're not so much reacting to what's going on. We're in this plant mode. Okay? All this stuff that's going on is the place where my behavior gets to plant the seeds for Buddhahood. It's a mind shift from now I have to go do the dishes to, wow, I get to do the dishes. No, I'm sorry I can't go with you because I have to go to the grocery store. Versus, I'd love to go with you, but I get to go to the grocery store. Do you feel the difference? And it's habit that we have this matter of saying things that we need to do as obligations. And yet many of them are probably deeds that are deeds of goodness that if we just shifted our mind from I have to do it, drudgery, to wow, I get to do this, and I can do it with a mind wanting to reach Buddhahood by doing it. Right? Going to the grocery store can become a cause for your Buddhahood. Just thinking of it a little bit differently. Mm. So the first three perfections, the seeds that we are planting with our giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, are planting the seeds that are growing towards uh, our physical being, our physical enlightened being, our paradise body and our emanation body, paradise being and emanation being. That all those seeds, all those seeds that we're doing from the first three perfections, they are said to be the collection of merit, Sunam Ki Sok. Remember when he said a single moment of anger at a bodhisattva destroys our collection of merit? This is what we're talking about. Then the seeds that we plant as we are working with our meditative effort, our perfection of meditation, and our perfection of wisdom, the seeds we plant as our knowledge is growing, even before we've gained wisdom, those seeds, when they're done under the influence of our bodhicitta, are this collection of seeds that will ripen into the mental being of our Buddha, the omniscience, and the Dharmakaya, in the sense that there's that direct awareness of the emptiness of all things, including their own mind. So Yashe Kisok, it's called. Sunam Kisok and Yashe Kisok. So joyous effort adds to both sides. Perfection of joyous effort, meaning doing our deeds with the joyous effort because we know that we're planting the seeds that will take us to our Buddhahood as we're doing our act of giving, empowers the seeds of that act of giving towards that goal. Whereas if we do our acts of giving, with a vague notion or feeling I'm doing it out of obligation to my practice, they're still good seeds. They're headed in the direction of our Buddhahood. But when we have the joyous effort aspect as we are planting those seeds, it's like straighter to the collection of merit and the collection of wisdom. And we could add to that and say, yeah, if I'm enjoying making those behavior choices, even when they seem like they're not related to what's going on, I'm more likely to do them. And therefore I make more of them. And every one I make adds to the ones I have made already and increases the likelihood that I can make more. So with joyous effort, it inspires our own practice to apply our Dharma to anything that we're doing. Okay. So joyous effort is this necessary catalyst, says Geshe Michael, for our practices to become causes for our Buddhahood. Joyous effort. Then, second. So he just said, without effort, no merit. Well, then what do you mean by effort, Master Shantideva? If it's so critical, tell me what it is so I can make sure I'm doing it right. What is effort? It is joy in doing good. Somehow we've all heard that, even if we've not taken Course 11 before. Tikashila uses it so often. What is effort? It is joy in doing good. Sun gong ge la droa o. I have it down here in the vocabulary. The G-A-N-G sounds more like K-O-N-G in English, Kong. Sun gong ge la droa o. What is effort? It is joy in doing good. Droa is taking joy. Ge is the word for the goodness, the kindness that we're doing. Sun gong is this making the effort, taking joy in the effort that we do. I get to go to the grocery store. Mm. So to have that attitude, it means we are having this attraction to those kindness deeds that we're planting in our mind by doing them. We're attracted to them. So suppose I don't know, suppose we're born into this lineage instead of having chosen it. And we grew up where the one in charge says, you have to pick up the bug and put it out. You have to get up at 5 and meditate. You have to, right? They put all these, this is what you have to do. Like from their side, it's like these are the things that if you do them will plant the seeds in your mind and make your life better. But how it comes across is do this, do this, do this. And if you're not doing that, you're not on your path. It would be harsh, right? And I know my own mind, my own heart would say, okay, thank you very much. I'll decide which ones I'll do and which ones I won't, according to trying them on for size and see what kind of result I get, right? Tomorrow or the next day. And if I didn't understand that I can't use that to judge whether those practices are helping me or not, you know what's going to happen? It's like I'm either going to doggedly go along with it, but with no joyous effort, or I'm going to give up altogether. No, and as a Western person, very likely, I'm just out of here. Then, but even if we were in that situation where the authority figure says, do this, do this, do this, and our seeds were such that when I did that, it was so fun to do that, it'd be like, great, I'll do it again. That was so fun. I'll do it some more. That was so fun. So it's like not really it's not really even understanding what we're doing. It's just whether our attraction to doing those kind of seeds is strong enough to get us to either believe when somebody says to do it, or to see that, my gosh, it's more fun than being a grump anyway. And when I understand that it's more fun, I want to do more of it. Am I frozen? Am I not talking anymore? Okay. Okay. So for joyous effort is when we're having fun doing those things we know we should do because our tradition says we should, instead of just doing them because the tradition says so. So we understand why to do the things they tell us. Things. Right. Our progress is going to be, do I want to say faster? It's going to be more pleasurable, so we'll do it. If our practice is not pleasurable, we're not going to stick with it. So it's okay for our practices to be pleasurable. Like maybe I'm speaking to some of us who, I don't know, have seeds of the American Puritans, It's like, no, any fun is a bad thing. It's gonna land you in hell. It's like, okay. If I've got those seeds and then I get in a tradition that says if you're not having fun, you're not practicing well. It's like, what do I do? Old seeds say one thing, new seeds say something else. The old seeds seem more proven to be true from, life experience. It's hard. It's hard. So, hopefully you hear this about joyous effort and a light bulb goes on and everything gets fun. But if it doesn't, don't feel guilty, don't feel bad. It's seeds. And that's where Master Shantideva is going to go. What are all of our reasons why we're not having so much fun doing our Dharma that we do other stuff that we think is more attractive? And again, as I'm hearing myself say that, it sounds as if there are some things that are Dharma and there are some things that aren't. But when we understand karma and emptiness to the level that I think most of you know it, we would be arguing, look, it's not the thing that we're doing that's Dharma or not. It's the state of mind we're bringing to the thing that we're doing. Master Shantideva, Geshe Michael didn't go there in this class. I think it comes up a little bit later. Because his audience wasn't as sophisticated in their understanding of emptiness and dependent origination back in 1990, whatever it was, 6 or 7, as we are. Right? His teaching of it has gotten so much more sophisticated over the years. So our good seeds, right? Pat yourself on the back. So why am I saying that? A bodhisattva is having a really good time doing their bodhisattva deeds, no matter what appears to be going on around them. One of the first jobs David got assigned when we landed at Diamond Mountain was we called it the Anigompa there, the community house. It has a septic system, and it, after years and years of use and never been cleaned out, it was not draining. It wasn't, toilets weren't flushing. And so the new guy, David, and the other new guy, can't remember his name right now, they're the ones that had to dig up this septic pot and scoop it out. And it's like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? You just put on your oldest clothes, the boots that you don't ever want to wear again anyway, and step into that, right? Cesspool and scoop it out and dig it out and dig it out. And they had so much fun. And in fact, as they're digging stuff out, David comes across a condom and and he looks at it and he looks at the guy he's with who's living in that house with his girlfriend. And the guy just turns beet red and they both laugh, and they throw it in the bushes. But it's like, how can you have a good time cleaning out a cesspool unless you understand so clearly, right? The crap you are pulling out of your mind as you're doing that. That, I don't know, such a great example of two bodhisattvas having fun regardless. I hope you never have to do that. So when we're talking about the fun things that we get to do in the Dharma, Geshe-la said it is showing up to classes, it is doing your reading, it is doing your homeworks and your quiz, it is doing our meditation daily, it is tracking our behavior, keep our book. It's that. Those are the things that are called doing the Dharma. And anything not included in that then is implied to be not the Dharma, which of course we're going to understand better later. But those deeds are the framework through which we learn the power of the training that we're getting so that we can more and more effortlessly apply it as guidelines to our behavior choices. And he says again, if all of that is fun for you, then you do it. And if it's not fun, we may still do it because we see that the benefits outweighs the yuck of it. But very likely it'll be a struggle to to stay with it if it isn't in some way enjoyable. So the more enjoyable, the better, of course. So it's not how much work we do, it's how much we enjoy it. He said, like, you're hanging out with your friend thinking of what to do, and they say, let's go meditate for an hour. Instead of let's go to a movie, let's go meditate. And your heart leaps, yeah, let's do. Instead of, what, are you nuts? So, like, if you were really a crazy Dharma practitioner and you're getting together with a friend to do something fun together, let's go do our ACI homework. Let's go meditate. Let's go bring some flowers to a nursing home. It's just out of the ordinary, right? All right. Master Shantideva goes on. It's time for a break. Let's take our break. Don't do it, cough. Oh. All right, are we back? Most of us are back. So Master Shantideva has explained to us joyous effort. Thank you, Geshe Michael, for adding to it. Then he addresses those things that block us from having joyous effort. He says, here I will explain the things that work against it, against this enthusiasm for our Dharma practice. These are laziness, an attraction to what is bad. I'll get back to that. And the feeling of being discouraged, belittling yourself. So attraction to what is bad. I I I feel in me when I hear the words bad and good, I just have a resistance to those. And it's I try to remind myself that what they mean by something that's bad is that a deed done that when I get the result, I'm sorry, it will be unpleasant. A deed that I do, that the result I get whenever I get it will be unpleasant, is what's meant by a bad deed. So we'll see. Okay. So the first that he mentions doesn't mean this is the biggest or first obstacle that any of us necessarily have, but a big one is lelo. Somehow we all seem to know what lelo means, laziness. But usually, I don't know, lazy. there, I've known some people who, at any given moment, whatever they're doing, they're trying to do with the least amount of effort. So they always park their car closest to the door of the place that they're going. You know, if they can use a cart instead of carry their stuff, they'll get the cart. Nothing wrong with that. My own habit was if there's any place in life that I can burn some extra calories, I'm going to do it. And so I'd park further away. So I had to walk a little bit more. I'd carry the packages instead of push them in the cart so I'd get a little stronger. Like I just had this different mindset. And it looked to me like they were lazy and I wasn't in my judgmental mind. But that's not really what we're talking about here in laziness. Geshe clarified it as being at the extreme. Do you know that feeling we get when we've overeaten and we're just like lethargic and stuffed and just don't want to do anything? Like every part of our being needs to focus on digesting all that stuff before we can be functional again. He said, like in the extreme, that's what we mean by laziness, being in that state and liking it. And it's like, ugh, I can't imagine. But apparently, there are those who that's really pleasurable to be in that really, really stuffed, fed, safe place. So, really, he says laziness is liking that kind of feeling, just sitting and doing nothing, like when you sit and do nothing but digest your food. Not that you have to have overeaten to get there. In Western society, it usually means the TV set is on and you're sitting there, right? And the TV set's going and it looks like you're watching, but you're probably not paying enough attention to say what happened if somebody asks you. Laziness, sloth, we would call it. If that feeling is pleasurable to us and somebody says, let's go do our ACI homework, you know, you go. That's fine. Tell me about it when you're done. It's this attraction to this dull pleasure of doing nothing. So now it does not mean that we should never take a break, sit and relax, even sit and stare. We're allowed to sit and stare. It's the level of choosing that state of being over something that would be an opportunity to plant some goodness. That's what we're talking about, lazy. Laziness as an obstacle to our effort, our joyous effort. When we've worked hard and we need to just sit down and chill, that's not a block to our dharma because we need to get rested and we need to regroup. It's fine to watch a movie. It's fine to read a novel, to get regrouped. But then we put it down and we go back to the fun of doing our dharma deeds as opposed to staying in the fun of just being sloppy lazy. Okay. Then secondly, yes, Geshe says, get your rest and then get on with your virtue seed planting. So then this attraction to what is bad in the Tibetan is Zhanyan La Shempa. The Zhanyan is the bad deed, meaning those 10 noble virtues and the kind of things that are associated with them. Those are the negative deeds we're talking about. It's being attracted to doing those deeds that is the obstacle to joyous effort. Like our misunderstanding believes that it's a pleasure, I don't know, to pull the wings off the butterfly. I mean, little kids do that. Or, like it's fun. We're going to things that for fun that in fact, when we get the result of what we did, it will not be fun at all. It will be unpleasant and harmful, but we don't know it, which is why we're attracted to it. Because we don't know that what we're doing is going to bring me harm. Like if we knew that, we wouldn't do it. Even if we wanted to do it, if we knew it was going to hurt me. Like even if I want to pound my toe with the hammer, I don't think I can make myself do it because I know how bad it's going to hurt. But if we don't know, there's no reason not to do those deeds. So it's not really that we're attracted to bad behaviors knowing they're bad. We're attracted to behaviors that we don't know are bad. That's why we are attracted to them. But as a result, we would then also not know that these other behaviors are good. Because the things that are good are things like, right? Finish the sentence. Pouring poison down the anthill, right? Because we don't know it's wrong. He, in his further chapters, we're not going to read all of them. He's going to talk about how we overcome these things. And mainly his argument is uh, to grow our awareness of the limited time that we have to do our dharma, so that these episodes when we get lazy, or these episodes when we're justifying a deed or thinking that a deed is a good deed, when I don't know, I guess deep down we know it's not, that we can kickstart ourselves and get back to the study or practice that we understand is the causes for the end of suffering for everybody. Mostly we're going to spend time looking at the imminence of our own death in order to kickstart our joyous effort. It seems a little bit peculiar. Yeah, become really aware that you could be dead in 4 months, 4 minutes, and that'll make you happy to do your dharma. It's like, no, it makes me scared. But only if we don't understand. All right, next. Giluk. This word giluk. Giluk means personal discouragement. Personal discouragement. That belief in myself, I don't think I can do all this. I love studying it. I see that it's possible, but not me. I can't do it. And Geshe-la used the example of, suppose you're around your teacher, and you see them and their behavior is so extraordinary, and they're constantly having the Dharma on their mind and constantly behaving in ways that's surprising because it doesn't seem to be what the situation warrants, but the situation works out anyway. And we admire them and we aspire to become like them. And then we get away from them and on our own choice making, and we can't sustain the level of our own integrity that we were able to sustain when we were inspired by being around them. And then our experience is, oh man, they're amazing. The ideas are great, but I can't do it. I can't possibly. And that's a huge block to having fun in making our efforts in doing so, right? If I don't believe that my efforts are good enough, I'm never going to really get there. Then our effort isn't fun. We have the tools that we need. That when we find ourselves doing a behavior that we wouldn't do if we were in the presence of our Lama, but we get out of their presence and then we let ourselves do it in some circumstance. Just when we recognize it, grow the regret, apply the 4 powers, right? Fix it and go on. We have the tools to fix any mistake that we make. And then the sooner our regret, not shame, not guilt, the sooner our regret arises about a circumstance, the less effective the seeds planted by that deed that we did will be for the future. Regret is the only, they say, negative emotion that's a virtue, because it prevents those seeds from getting fully hard. Geshe Michael says, we don't have mental seeds that get hard, but the idea is that they don't get fully planted, which means they can't bring a full-on result. It can't bring any result at some level when our regret is swift enough and or has with it the rest of the 3 powers. All right. Okay. So next, what are we doing? What causes laziness? What promotes the feeling of laziness is sloth, the sweet enjoyment of some pleasure, as well as a craving for time spent sleeping, all leading to a failure to feel a sense of disgust for the pain of the circle of life. Uh, so down here in our vocabulary, nyumle is this pleasure, like a low level taking pleasure in things that seem pleasant now, but when they bring their actual result will be unpleasant. Nyumle. Mm. Sorry, I lost my place. When we recognize that we have this state of mind of enjoyment, of indulging in worldly pleasures, is what he called it. When we recognize it, we can finally decide whether or to what extent we want to let it go on. Again, the idea of using a worldly pleasure to get rested and regroup, and then shift from that worldly pleasure to back on our Dharma effort. The habit is to stay with the worldly pleasure until it wears out, which it's gonna do. But meanwhile, we've indulged in this state of mind, nyumle, which is an obstacle to our joyous effort, or a cause of the obstacles to our joyous effort. Geshe-la says, on the other hand, when we are devoting ourselves to our new behavior of our Dharma practice with joyous effort, our tendency is to like jump in with both feet and work really, really, really hard and then burn out because we're not going to see the seed ripening results necessarily that would be the positive feedback that would keep us acting at that level of intensity. And he said, if you're not an exerciser and you decide, I'm going to take up running, you don't go out the first day and run 5 miles. I wouldn't be able to do it, first of all, but if I tried, the next 3 days would be torture. Whereas if I went and ran 2 houses worth and walked a little bit, and the next day I run 3 houses worth, and the next day 4, right? In some period of time, I'm running 5 miles, and it has not hurt me or burned me out or caused a backlash in my family, right? We are instructed to go at our new Dharma life in an effective, progressive method as opposed to overdoing it. The next thing that promotes that laziness is this craving for time spent sleeping. Doggone it, my favorite thing to do. Almost favorite thing to do. Ni la tempe sepa. Down here at the bottom. Ni la tempe. I don't know how the words break down, but Geshe-la says it means sleeping for a while, and sipa means to crave. craving for sleeping. And, and I look back at my own life, my circumstances were such that like I had chronic fatigue and I had chronic pain. And I pushed and pushed and pushed myself. And then I could go maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe four at the pace that I was going. And then all of a sudden it would hit me. And wherever I was, I swear I could stop what I was doing, lay down on the sidewalk if I needed to, and I would fall asleep for like 12 hours. So I never did that. I always managed to get home. But I often wondered how I even got home because I was so exhausted. It's like my car drove itself. I got home, I went to bed, and I didn't move. I didn't get up to go to the toilet. I didn't eat. I woke up in the same position as I went to sleep, 12, 13, 14 hours later. And, I had regrouped a little bit, enough for another couple weeks or a month. But it's like sleep was my refuge. It was the only time I escaped whatever it was that was going on in my life that was manifesting as this terrible fatigue. It was the way my mind escaped. And it's like if we need to do that, don't grow the thought from this that sleep is a bad thing. It's not. We're even going to use it as part of the path someday, of course. It's not bad. We need it. And some of us need more than others. The thing is, do we just go take a nap? Not because we're tired, not because we need an escape, right? For no reason other than, gosh, I really like to lay down and take a nap. There's nothing wrong with napping. We can take a nap to get refreshed so that we can do our Dharma practices more effectively. It's just this idea of getting, let's say, addicted to sleep, where we use it when we could be doing something more effective with our time, our body, our mind. It's curious that he's saying if we build this habit of using our sleep, just because we like it, that will manifest as this not joyous effort in our Dharma life. And I don't know, I can see how a good sleep habit would grow my Dharma life. Thank you very much. Versus be a blocker to it. The difference is the attitude towards that sleep. So I think you get that. Nila tempe sepa. Then the last one, a failure to feel a sense of disgust for the pain of the cycle of life. Down at the bottom, Korwe Dunya Lami Kyowa. Not down at the bottom anymore. Korwe we know is samsara. Dunya we know is suffering. Kyopa means to get fed up. Mi kyopa is to not be fed up. To not be fed up with the suffering of samsara. It's like renunciation. Right? Our renunciation is, this is broken. This world is just broken. I'm perpetuating, creating a broken world, and I've had it. I've got to change it. I've got to change me. I've got to do what I need to do. Most likely, we've all had some episode of some kind of that thought, or we wouldn't be here. But do we still have that strength of that thought now that we're well into our Dharma practice and our Dharma understanding? Or was that thought something that motivated me to get me on track? And now it's like, okay, I'm on it. And yet, right, I still see awful things, not physically see, but know of awful things that are happening in my world. Like, why am I not still having that? I am so fed up with samsara. I have to, I want to do the things that I can do that will bring it to a stop. When we get complacent, even complacent with our practices, that puts us in the danger of our laziness blocking our joyous effort. Uh, we 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 mistake uh we mistake our our we mistake the fact that we are still alive for the belief that, okay, so we have many more years to come. It's not logical, says Master Shantideva and Geshe Michael, but we tend to do it, right? We expect, oh yeah, the ladies in my life, except for half of them, live to be in their 90s. If you get through your 30s, 40s, 50s in my life, my family, you live to be in your 90s. And here I made it through. So therefore, I've got 20 more years, maybe more. But we don't know that for sure, do we? Technically, we only have 4 minutes, and then maybe another 4 minutes, and then maybe another 4 minutes. But we don't live like that. We don't live with that kind of urgency. And even like my mind says, come on, you couldn't live with that kind of urgency. Life would be so incredibly different if every 4 minutes I was amazed I was still alive. I think I'd be frozen, right? I couldn't do anything but wait to see if 4 minutes from now I was still alive. That's not effective, not worldly or dharma. But because we're still alive, we have this complacency that believes we will still be still alive, even as more and more people that we know around us are not still alive. We still have this amazing mechanism of self-protection to say, yeah, I'm so sorry that they died. It wasn't me. So I'm safe. I'm safer than they were. See? Because I'm still here. And it's a mistake. Right? It's a mistake to believe that. And as a result of that belief, we get complacent with our samsara. Even if we've had an episode of that thought of no more of this, if that was a while ago, that urgency starts to fade a little bit. And so Master Shantideva says a disgust for samsara is a block, a lack of disgust for samsara is a block to our joyous effort. That one takes some chewing on, because it seems like strong disgust for this life isn't going to make me joyous effort. It's going to make me frantic effort. And that's not fun. That's probably not effective. Somehow, however, in our understanding of our disgust for samsara, when we understand how it is the case that we will stop it, that wisdom grows our joyous effort, our fun in doing the things we need to do. What do we need to do? Stop harming, be helping, cultivate in order to reach Buddhahood for everybody, and do our homework, do our meditation, keep our book, serve, 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 and having fun doing so because we at least know intellectually so clearly that this is how we overcome samsara. So when our wisdom grows because we're fed up with samsara, now we can have fun destroying that samsara. Not really destroying it, transforming it. I don't know. These video games have been coming up in my mind. I've never played one. I've always disrespected them. But it's like all of a sudden, the eagerness with which people are in front of their video game, like then their single point of concentration. What if we had a video game of my Bodhisattva deeds, and my joyous effort and my transforming my world? And it's just like, whoa, that attitude, that state of heart, that state of mind. It's like, this is the funnest thing in the world to create my world differently, even though I can't see it happening yet. That's the rub. I can't see it change. Or I do see it change and I don't think it's changing enough. And again, that blocks my joyous effort if I'm looking for the result instead of enjoying the process. Okay, where are we now? Next one. He goes on to say, haven't you even got eyes to see how those in the world with you have gone steadily to the slaughter? To sit here still and enjoy your sleep is just the same as the oxen waiting for the butcher. So, he uses that analogy of the cattle, right? In line going into the butcher company. It's just so awful. I can hardly even talk about it. But each of those cattle waiting in line, they're just chewing their cud, waiting. I guess. I don't even know that they're waiting. They're just there. And then they move forward, and then that awful stuff happens, and none of them ever figure out that nobody ever comes out of that building. They don't have the karma for the mind that wonders, what's wrong with this picture? They don't have any resistance, and they just go along with what's happening, not knowing what's ahead of them. It implies that if they knew what was ahead of them, they would bolt, they would resist, they would do something different, I hope. And it's not that they don't want to, it's that they're not aware. And that's Master Shantideva's point, is that we see that people around us die, things around us break. But if we don't have the karmic goodness to question what's wrong with this, then we just go along with it, right? And we do the things that we do as humans, accumulate stuff, right? Good stuff, not so good stuff, and then in the end we die. And it's just like, well, that's what human life is about. I had this beautiful conversation with a friend today. Her husband had died just a couple of months ago. And I asked her after it, and she said, I've done hospice work for years. He was miserable for 3 years. He was begging to die. Finally, he got to. She said, I'm happy for him. I'm happy to be living by myself now. And it's like, she says, I can't say that to too many people. They get offended. You're supposed to be grieving. You're supposed to be, you were supposed to cling to him. And it's like, no, let him go. Send him on his way. He knew. But why I brought that up is that in our old way of thinking, people expected her to act the way everybody acts when somebody dies, and it's a big loss and it's a big disaster instead of time, right? That's what happens next. So our he's talking to us for us to look into our own heart and see, to what extent am I, do I have belief systems that are still holding me in my belief that either I can't change or I can't really change my world in the way that these teachings say, or I'm not really capable of making that kind of change, or maybe I'm too scared to actually be a Buddha. Maybe that feels like too big a responsibility for us. We have obstacles. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here, right? We would be Buddhas already. So I'm not saying we're all losers. I'm saying we still have work to do. So don't be an oxen led to slaughter. Wake up. Don't waste your time oversleeping. Don't waste your time over movie watching. Don't waste your time over newspaper reading. You can't even do that anymore. Scrolling the new. And if we are inclined to do any of those behaviors, check and see why. Is it habit? If it is, big deal. We're going to change it. If it's serving us in some way, we think, check and see what is that need? And can I supply that need in a more wholesome way, in a more virtuous, in a way that will move me towards stopping the suffering of the world? Yeah. Next one. Death is coming to take us, moving at incredible speed. In the time you have left, try to amass good karma. When the moment arrives, it's true. You may give up your laziness, but what good can it do at a time so wrong? So we could say, yeah, I'm going to live my life now until, I don't what's an example? I don't want to use an example that is going to hurt anybody's feelings. Okay, so suppose that you're in professional school. Oh man, that's going to hurt somebody's feelings too. There's nothing I can say. Suppose you're saving up for a fancy new car, and then that takes all your focus of attention because you need to earn all that extra money so that you can get your fancy new car. And then by the time you have the money for your fancy new car, you are 75 years old and your back hurts so much that you can't get in and out that fancy sports car. So even if you buy it, you can't use it. But probably by the time you get there to where you can afford it, it's like, oh my gosh, I still can't buy it even though I have the money because I can't get into it. It's like I wasted all that time. They're saying here that we may meet the Dharma and say, yeah, nice, interesting. I have my family, I have my work, I have my job, I have my mortgage. I'll finish all of that. And when I retire, that's when I'll start my serious Dharma work. And then we get to retirement age, and maybe we can like step in and really do our Dharma work. But then we drop dead 5 years later, which we could have done in the middle of our work life. We just had the goodness to not. We don't know is the thing. That's their point. If we put off our efforts in our Dharma practice when we have the opportunity to use them, we have no guarantee that we will have the opportunity to use them later, the way we are thinking that we will. Take classes, do the homeworks, do the reading, meditate every day, do meditation retreat, personal solitary retreat twice a year. Come on, that's not possible for somebody in a worldly life with a job that gets 2 weeks a year off, right? With a family who expects you to spend that time with you. All of it driven by seeds, all of it opportunities to practice the Dharma. We don't have to say, I'm going to wait to practice the Dharma until my family's grown up, okay? Until I'm done working. By then, it's too late. Too late to have enough time to make the changes in our mind to affect us enough to get the results we want. Would it be harmful to teach somebody who's on their deathbed about the pen and to help them think of the goodnesses that they've done? Yes, it would be helpful. But they're not gonna stop their mental afflictions in the next week or 10 days between when you do that with them and when they actually leave their body. We need time. Most of us need time. And we think we have all the time we need, especially when we're young. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're 70 years old. You haven't got to this yet. The others have just started, and yet another has half still left to do. Suddenly, then, does the Lord of Death make his arrival, and in your mind, you can only cry, he kills me. What this is saying is, we think that if we still have a project unfinished, that we will live long enough to complete it. This is saying, your Lord of Death doesn't care one wig whether you have something left to do. When the time comes, it happens, and we can't bargain with our Lord of Death and say, no, no, let me finish my book. No, no, let me get my meditation stronger. No, no, wait for me till I'm ready. Like, wrong. And yet we have this deep belief that we won't die until we have our whole life packaged up in a neat little package and we're ready. It's curious. How do we get that mindset? Don't wait till it's too late. What is it that you imagined you would do at the moment, tormented by the memory of the wrongs you've done, with the roar of the hell realms in your ears, bringing such terror that you cover your body in shit and reach the depths of insanity? So he's saying, and what do you think dying's going to be like? You think it's going to be a pleasant experience? It can be. If we are well trained and really well cleaned of our negative seeds, in particular, our selfishness born of ignorance seeds, which every seed has in it. So it takes a lot of purification work to reach that place where the process we call death is no longer a scary, painful, awful thing, but rather this extraordinary opportunity to experience your own true nature. It is possible. And they teach POA, which is the practice of using death as the path. And for that practice to be successful for any given individual, we would need to learn it as part of our practice and work with it and work with it and work with it. And what that involves is studying it, learning it, practicing it, meditating on it, keeping our behavior off cushion time really, really carefully so that our meditation can go deeply enough so that we can learn the method of withdrawing the mind from the body when the time comes. It's a whole career to learn POA, not just a weekend initiation, right? The weekend initiation plants great seeds, but it's not something that we can rely on then for sure. Mm. When the experience of ordinary death is coming, the winds that support the subtle body of the 5 elements that make up our physical body, those winds stop moving one by one. And if the wind that carries earth stops moving, our earth element, it's as if we don't have one anymore. And our awareness is no solidity, no body. And then the water element stops being projected. And so there's no fluidity. And then the fire element stops being projected and there's no temperature. And then the wind element stops being projected and there's no movement whatsoever. And then the element that carries the subtle awareness of appearances, that goes still. And then it gets even more and more subtle, where there's another layer of subtlety of belief in self-existent me that goes still. And then self-existent other that goes still. And then self-existent anything that goes still. And by the time we get to the place where we are at the still, that's when in the Western world, death has occurred. The heart has stopped, the brain has stopped. But the mind still has these 4 more parts to go through, but it no longer has anything to anchor it. And it's chaotic. And it's seeds are ripening, passing. There's nothing to hold it with words. There's nothing to hold it with concepts. There's nothing to hold it like going in a direction the way we feel like we are, right? We're moving through time. And the way that all unravels is terrifying and painful, not physically painful necessarily, but suffering, huge suffering. It doesn't have to be. But when that happens, driven by our seeds of belief in self-existent me and self-existent other, that's why, as that all breaks down, it's so terrifying. Because we don't believe there is a not self-existent me. If there's no me, then there's no me at all. And that's terrifying. And in the process of going through that, we actually do apparently have a life recall, mostly, of our behaviors, negative behaviors, positive behaviors, but the negative ones seem to be what are so terrifying. And then we also, they say we will have an experience of the sound of the realm that our next rebirth will take on. Even in the dying process, we're not even in Bardo yet. And somehow we hear this sound. And then in this scripture, he's saying you'll hear the roar of the hell realms as you're dying. Geshe described it that this tradition says most ordinary humans that don't understand how extraordinary it is to be a human don't take advantage of that circumstance and just continue to live life in self-existent me mode. And as a result, we have done something either often enough or big enough that it's almost 100% likely that where we will end up is seeing ourselves as a helping. And that when we reach a certain part of that death dissolution, we'll hear those sounds of where we're going. And they say the sound of hell is beyond describing pain. Wasn't it in Princess Bride? What was that phrase? The sound of infinite suffering or something like that, right? The man with the mask. Anyway, it's this horrible sound. And you don't have the capacity to go, oh my gosh, I just heard the hell realm sound. It's not like that. But it's such a horrible experience that the effect on the mind is shocking and terrifying and awful. And apparently we know that from having died before, and we've sublimated it so much that we don't remember the experience, but subconsciously, that's why we protect ourselves. When somebody pretends they're going to push us off the rooftop, we grab, right? That our self-preservation is partly because of this terrifying experience of dying. That doesn't have to be that way. But Master Shantideva is saying, if you don't know it's going to be like that, then yes, we could go along and say, oh, don't worry, your death is going to be just fine. When in fact, it's going to be like he says here, if we haven't worked with our seed planting, purification, and creating goodness, that changes the whole story for a practitioner on the path. Which is why he's bringing it up. He's trying to remind us joyous effort in your Dharma practices. It's like this is what we can avoid. So he pointed it out to his group of audience. You set your hopes on results, unwilling to make any effort. Sufferings shower down on those least able to bear them. Already in the embrace of death, you imagine yourself an immortal. Cry out when the sufferings come to destroy you. He's just going, not just, he's going on about how our habit is to not take our imminent death seriously enough to change our moment by moment experience choices in life. So we think that our life will bring us good results. We think we're doing enough. We think because we have good circumstances, we're always going to have good circumstances. And so we're not willing to make that effort to ensure that those good circumstances do in fact come back to us. And then as a result of our thinking our usual worldly deeds are the things that are the causes of the results that I get, sufferings come pouring down on me, and I blame everybody else for them. And it upsets. So already in the embrace of death, he's reminding us that We aren't far from death. We don't think we're in the jaws of death. But how do we know? How do we know we're not? I don't have cancer. I don't have high blood pressure very much. I don't have heart disease. I'm going to do fine. Do I know that for sure? No. We think we are immortal. Some part of us thinks we are immortal, even as some part of us goes, no, no, I know I'm going to die. We really are irrational. Out of self-preservation. Let's see. I said that. I said that. I said that. We have three expectations that we live with. Geshe said these presumptions that we have. Not sure where that comes. Mm. One of them is that we have this presumption or presupposition that good things will come to us even without having done things to deserve it. When we don't understand about karma and emptiness, we just think, of course, good things should come to me. Of course, I deserve to be happy. We don't think at all about cause effect. I have to create the causes for that. That doesn't occur to us as ordinary human beings. I see I'm out of time, but I have not finished class. What would you like me to do? Finish or leave it for next class? I owe somebody a date, but I have time. Okay. Our joyous effort allows us to design our Buddha paradise and then set about to creating the causes for it without the presupposition that I'm going to see its result tomorrow or the next day or even next year. I just get so clear on how to plant, what seeds to plant, that I just plant them and let the result take care of itself. It must come. Second one, we expect that we'll live a long, long time like an immortal. I already mentioned that. Deep in our hearts, when somebody else dies, something in our mind, our own mind goes, of course it was them, not me. Right? It's very subtle. Not that we're having ill will or wishing it. It's just some matter of fact thing that verifies the truth. I'm alive, they're dead. And so we think, see, it's not going to be me. Mistake. Third one, as we get older, we can't endure the sufferings that we could endure when we were younger. And we don't realize that when we're young, which is why we put things off when we're young. We put off making the changes in our behavior. We put off in growing our joyous effort. We put things off when we're young. We think we have time. We think that even when I am 80 years old, I'll still have the energy that I have now because that's our reality. We can't imagine being any different. But what it is to get older is to use up those seeds that were ripening as youth and strength and possibility and right, all those things. And then as we burn those off, and we're not replanting things with virtue, and we are replanting things with ignorance and irritation, then we're using up our whatever good seeds we had. We're like damaging the good seeds that we had, preventing them from going off. What is going off is degenerating, seeds of degeneration. That's what it is to get older. If we were burning off and planting kindness with wisdom, we wouldn't get older, we would get younger and younger. As we got older, we would get younger. And you'd see that in the stories of the saints. You know, they say Lobsang Chuki Gyaltsen, by the time he did withdraw his emanation, his complexion looked like an 8-year-old kid. You know, he was strong like a 16-year-old boy. He just reversed after he reached a certain age, even as his numbers were going higher. So anyway. So he says, we must make use of this boat, the human life we have, to cross over the great river of suffering. The boat is hard to find again later. Do not sit then, ignorant one, at this moment there asleep. Don't waste our time, he says. This human life in the Dharma at this extraordinary level is so rare and precious that when we get sloppy with it, it's easy to lose. Not even by dying. It's easy to lose interest. It's easy to lose the ability. It's easy to lose. The Dharma is the ultimate source of happiness, they say. Study, meditate, do retreats, control our minds through keeping our vows, right? Use our growing wisdom to direct our behavior. That's the Dharma practice. And that brings happiness. Maybe not at first, because of the struggle, because of the effort, because of the pushback we get from other people in our life. The seeds being planted are so extraordinary that when they give us the result, it will be extraordinary levels of happiness. Before our wisdom grows strong enough, we still do all kinds of non-virtuous things, thinking they will get us what we need and want. We're willing to cheat on our taxes, thinking we'll have a little bit of extra money we can spend on our family. It may seem like we have more money if we don't give it to the government, but the result of cheating when it ripens is having less, not being able to get what we need. We're attracted to the worldly hustle and bustle, the sensory stimulation of the world. And it prevents our meditation from going deeply enough to show us the reality that will influence our behavior choices deeply enough to stop perpetuating samsara. And then the third factor is our minds skip from object to object so uncontrollably. And because of our sensory stimulation overload that we like, our mind gets good at jumping from one thing to the next. And then we believe that that's what it is to be an effective human, to be able to multitask, to be able to go from here to there, which it would be if we were deciding to do that versus doing it by habit, doing it on automatic pilot. When we're doing it by habit, we can't stop doing it when we want to stop doing it. We can stop doing it when something is interesting enough that it holds our attention, but then we're relying on the object to grab our concentration, not us deciding. And as we know from meditation class, to be able to meditate at the level necessary to see emptiness directly, we need to cultivate this ability to take our mind and park it on something, whether we like it or not, whether it's interesting or not, and to have a good time doing it. It's not easy, is it? All right. So he's telling us re-examine our priorities and expectations to find out where those are blocking our ability to shift from I have to go to the grocery store to I get to go to the grocery store. From I have to sit in meditation for an hour to wow, I get to. Right? We've got some blocker to that. If we can find it, we can work with it. We can remove it. Sungang gela troa o. All right. Thank you for the extra 10 minutes. I owe you. Remember that being you, we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We learned stuff that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever, and so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use your 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, filled with joyous effort. And may it be so. Okay. Thank you again for letting me share. Where's my cursor? What day is today? Thursday, little weekend coming up. See you on Sunday. Right? We're Sunday. Okay. Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.